write down your inches, minutes, clicks. You know how you have to make your adjustment. You've got to go up and to the right. You get back to your scope and you're looking at it. Let's say you're using a scope. How many people using a scope? Raise your right hand. Right hand. Good. All right. So I want you to put your thumb up, like Fonzie. Nice. Got the thumbs up. So figure out where your bullet has to go. If your bullet has to go up, how do you turn your turrets? On most scopes, look at the way your fingers curl. If your bullet has to go up, that's the way your fingers curl is the way you turn your turret. If your scope has to go down, the way your fingers curl is the way you turn your turret. What about windage and elevation? If you had to go to the left, the way your fingers curl is the way you turn your turret. And if you had to go to the right, same thing. Okay? Most scopes, that's how it's going to be. We call it the right-hand rule. But what if you're using iron sights? You have your M1 Duran. You have tech sights on your rifle, like a Ruger 1022 with tech sights, typical military sights. You're going to use the left-hand rule. So all of you using open sights or iron sights, raise your left hand, right? M16s, AR-15s, we have the left-hand rule. If your bullet has to go up, the way you turn your sights is the way your fingers curl. If it has to go down, you adjust your sights the way your fingers curl. Same thing for the right. At the rear sight, you're going to adjust your windage the way your fingers curl if it has to go to the right, and the way your fingers curl if it has to go to the left. Okay? So a word about adjusting. Typically, you're going to adjust elevation at the front sight, typically on a front sight post. If the bullet had to come up, you would have to make the front sight go down. So the way our fingers curl is clockwise, you would be tightening the front sight post down. If you had to go up, reverse that. If you had to go up, if you had to go down rather, if you had to go down, you adjust counterclockwise, which means you'd loosen the front sight and raise it. Okay? So, the front sights are going to go the opposite way you need to adjust. If your bullet needs to go up, your front sight needs to go down. If your bullet needs to go, if you need to come down, you have to adjust your front sight up. My friend Nick says this is like the good child, bad child. Bad child does the opposite of what you tell it. That's the front sight. You need to go up, make the bad child go down. You need to go down, the bad child has to come up. I remember it as an acronym. Front, opposite, rear, same. FORS. Front goes the opposite, rear goes the same. If you're doing windage, the rear sight gets adjusted the same way. If you have to go to the right, and you're using your right-hand rule, you would adjust your windage to the right at the rear, because the rear is the same. If you had to go to the left, windage left, adjust your sights to the left. Front opposite, rear same. The rear sight is the good child. It does what you tell it. If you tell it go right, it goes right. If you tell it go left, it goes left. That's the good child. Front sight, bad child. Or FORS, front opposite, rear same. And always remember your rules. Left-hand rule for open sights, right-hand rule for telescope. Okay? Any questions? Thank you.